So to set up this experiment, we've got 3 computers, and each one of them has the digital microscope on it. And when you start the program, or when you start the computer, on the desktop, we'll go to the Dino Scope program, or Dino Light program. And it's going to open up, and you can click. So if it asks you to renew it, say no, because the new version doesn't work. Come over here, you can make it bigger. And then we've got it hooked into the USB port. And you can set up 2 or 3 chairs up at each station. And then over here we have our fingerprinting station, and we've got our tray, we've got our bowl, and we've got our brush. This is some extra fingerprint dust. We've got a scoop to get it out, and we've got our photo paper that we're going to use, and some picture of some fingerprints, and some extra paper towel, and some wipes because it's going to get messy. So our experiment today, we're going to be talking about forensic science. Can you say that? Can you say forensics? Forensics. So forensics, those are the scientists that work at the police department. So what kind of things would the policemen do?
They solve crimes.
They solve crimes. And what kind of crimes do they solve?
Someone taking something?
Yeah. So one thing that forensic scientists do is if they get to a crime scene, they have to look for evidence that someone's been there. So have you ever seen like a crime show? What kind of things do they look for?
They look for fingerprints.
They look for fingerprints. So have you ever looked really closely at your fingerprints before?
Not too much.
Okay, so we've got a microscope that we're going to be looking at this. Can you see your fingers? Okay, so I'm going to put this flat down on your finger. Alright, I'm going to use this knob to focus it. So what do you notice about your fingers?
Lots of little ridges.
Okay, so those ridges are what make up your fingerprints. So if you look at your different fingers, do they have the same ridges or do they have different ones? So if you look at it, each one of your fingers has got a little bit of different pattern. And your fingers are different than my fingers. So do you want to take a look at your fingers for a little bit? Sure. So one add-in with this experiment, the younger kids, talking about forensic science can be a little confusing because they may not really have a concept of bad guys or crime scenes or any of that, and for them just doing fingerprints and not even really relating it to a crime scene is fine. Just talk about looking at their fingerprints and how their fingerprints are different, and sometimes the people may want to just sit with a microscope for 10 or 15 minutes and kind of deviate from the activity, and that's fine. You can just let them do that, and then if they want to get back on track and do their fingerprints, and they can do that too. So I'm going to give her the microscope and let her just kind of investigate her skin. She can look at her fingers, different parts of her skin for a little while. And another thing to point out, so if you go back to your fingertips, so what else do you see on there besides the ridges?
Looks like there's like water or sweat or something.
Yeah, so there's these little shiny dots, and those are the oil glands. So when you touch, like if you ever make a smudge on a window or a piece of glass, it's those little droplets of water that are on your fingers. And that's, some people, it's a lot easier to see than others. Some people just have hands that are a lot more oily. So whenever they're done looking at their fingers in the microscope, you want to go ahead and make fingerprints? Sure. Okay. You can turn. Okay, so here are our fingerprint making supplies. So we've got some photo paper that we've cut up into these little like fingerprint size squares. We've got our fingerprint dust in this bowl right here. And if you need some more, it's in this jar. And all you need is like that much for each couple fingerprints. So just a teeny bit in there, and you can just swirl it around on the brush a little bit for them. If you get too much on it, it just gets really messy. Okay, so we've got our paper. I'm gonna put it right here for you. So which finger do you want to look at?
This one.
Thumb? Okay, and if their fingers aren't very greasy, you can rub them around in your hair a little bit, get them a little more greasy. Okay, so just get one quick print on there. All right, and why is it sticking to your finger? What do you think's on your finger that's
The
making it
oil's
stick?
sticking to it.
Yeah, so now we've got the little rings of oil on there. Can you see them?
No.
Okay, we can't see them yet, so here's a brush, and what we're going to do is just swirl it gently, kind of paint it like you're painting a picture. And they've got to be kind of gentle, because if they rub it too hard, they'll smear the fingerprint. But
I need some more.
and make sure you're doing it on a paper towel, because it gets really messy. All right, so you're starting to see anything?
Mm-hmm. I think it's showing up there.
Okay, so we can see your pattern on there, and I'm going to take a little piece of tape and put it over, just like that. Okay, now can you try and, so remember we said that everyone's got a different fingerprint, but there are some similarities. So here's some of the common types of fingerprint patterns. So can you find on there, do you have any of those patterns?
It might be the left loop.
Cool. And then if they want to do some more, they can try some more fingers. If they want to look at it under the microscope, they can try that. And then they'll probably need to wash their hands afterwards, because it's kind of messy. Okay. So once they're done with the fingerprints, if they're still looking for something else to do, we've got, in this box, we've got a bunch of different hair samples. And they can put them over here on the paper and just put the microscope right on top of it. They can focus it and zoom into the highest focus. And
get 30 to this one.
there you go. So they can look at the differences between some different types of animal hair. And they can also look at here. If they want to look at their own hair, they can put it straight up on their head and zoom in and focus. And with the hair, there's, you know, some people will have like a blonde hair and brown hair. You'd be able to tell the difference. But you may not be able to tell the difference between two people with blonde hair unless you see the end of it and you can get some DNA off of it.